Welcome back, fellow gamers. I want to talk to you today about the one day I worked in the gaming industry and why I quit after one day. So it's a story time. I will not talk about, or I won't mention the company name. I'll tell you some details about the company. If somebody discovers it, that's fine. I just don't want to talk bad about an identified employer because that would look bad if I try to work somewhere else and they see this video and they're like, "Oh, this guy talks smack about his employer, so we're not going to hire him." I want to prevent that, and I don't want to cause any issues with my former employer. I only worked there for a day, so I doubt they even care. But just to be on the level and just remain some tact. I don't want to start throwing a company under the bus, even though I didn't agree with their practices. So I was brand new in social media. I had done a small temporary assignment at my employer that I was at, and I was at the end of that contract. I was going back down to the call center. Now, the reason why I was working at the call center, I hated the call center, was because I had moved from Air Canada, which was one of my former employers, to this other company. They kind of loaned us out. I was working at the airport, so I went from doing a job I absolutely loved to doing a job I hated at the call center. I never wanted to be there. I respect people who put up with the stuff at a call center every day. You guys are amazing, but it wasn't for me, so I was looking at ways of getting out. I had just graduated from university with an environmental science degree. Environment Canada at that time laid off half of the department, so a bunch of people who were working for the government with extensive backgrounds in environmental science now went out to the private sector, which meant that jobs for me dried up. So I'm like, I'm going to give this social media thing a go. Did my temporary assignment. Then I started applying to other jobs for social media. And in this case, it was a gaming employer, so it was a gaming company. They focused primarily on mobile games, but they had released some games for consoles, mainly Nintendo and I believe Xbox. I think it was Xbox 360. So I was pretty excited. One of the things that I've wanted since like forever. I remember the first time I played Diablo, I wanted to go work at Blizzard, and I kind of still do. Like, given the opportunity, I would still work at Blizzard. I To me that was like the dream job. I would give anything to go work at Blizzard, and then I looked at other gaming companies, and my path didn't take me down that way. And then when I had an opportunity to join a gaming company, I was over the moon. I was really excited. These guys had focused mainly on mobile apps at the time, but their apps, two of the apps that they produced, I played consistently. So I was actually really excited to give this a go. I go through the interview process and I answer all the questions like I should be, and they're really excited about the interviews that I gave. So I interviewed really well for this position. They had immediately started implementing things that I had brought up in an interview. So I get in, I was going to be managing the social media accounts for this game company, particularly the two games that I was actually playing. So I'd be managing specific games. I'm not going to mention the games either because that's going to identify the company. One of the games was like a SimCity builder. So you had or think of Simpsons. It was something like the Simpsons game where you built your Springfield out. It wasn't the Simpsons game, and it wasn't SimCity either. But you built your stuff up, and it was really cool. They work closely with external IP, so similar to what Gun Media has done with Friday the 13th with that movie license. This company was doing with various licenses for various established IPs. So it was made known to me that because these are established IPs, we as a company don't want to appear weak while handling these IPs, so we need to delete any comment that is neutral or negative about this game. So that for me raised a first red flag. And actually, let me go back. So at the start of my day, I get there, and I'm dressed up with a button-down shirt, dress pants, and dress shoes. It's what I've known. It's what the fields that I've worked in my whole life. I've dressed like that to go to work. I get there, and four of the people are starting at the same day. So right away, and it's a small-ish company. It's like, it's not a huge. We're not talking like Activision or Blizzard or anything else. So right away, all the other people start on the same day, that to me means that there's a high turnaround rate. So I kind of like, I'm wondering why there's all these new people that are starting, but I'm also the only person wearing a shirt and dress pants, like a button-down shirt. The other people are wearing like t-shirts with like graphics on them, and not to say that those were wrong. I mean, everybody dressed like that in the office. I just wasn't prepared for that, and I kind of felt like a tool. So we go ahead, we sign our employment papers all in the same meeting room. The HR lady's like ecstatic to have each and every one of us. She brings us each to our team. But before she does that, she takes us on a tour of the whole layout of the building. And we find out, there's a games room with ping pong, arcades. They have an Xbox, a PlayStation 3, a Nintendo. I think it was a Nintendo GameCube. No, it was a Wii. It was a Wii. They had everything. They had whatever you wanted. And then they bring us to the kitchen. The kitchen is beautiful. I still remember it's huge. There's great stainless steel countertops. There's food that's free. It's a really nice setup. But I'm kind of noticing that the thing's a bit messy. Like it's a bit messy where the people eat, and there's food left over from people having breakfast. So I'm like, like that's unfortunate. But I'm not gonna be that picky person and be like, oh, that's whatever. Then we start going into the work area, and then we notice that there's beer bottles everywhere. There's empty beer bottles everywhere. And then the HR lady's like, yeah, we have free beer for all our employees on Fridays. But when I'm saying there's beer bottles everywhere, I'm saying like there is no counter space. Like everybody gets plastered on Fridays. And for me, I'm a non-drinker, but I'm completely cool with people drinking around me. But I like my work environment to be my work environment, my play environment to be my play environment. So I'm there to work. I'm there to do a certain job from here to here, and I live my life. Like YouTube is my life. I don't plan on staying overtime at work. Not even overtime. Staying after work, drinking with a bunch of people I work with. I'd rather get home, work on my YouTube stuff, even though it wasn't on YouTube at the time. At that time, I don't remember what I was really concentrating on in life. It revolved around Magic the Gathering for sure, but more than that, I really don't know. Anyways, I'm like, oh, that's like, it's kind of disgusting because all you can smell is like beer and everything like that. And it's been a whole weekend and you can still smell the beer like spilt on the floor and nobody cleaned it up. So they show me to my desk. I get introduced to my boss who I met through the interviews, and I get introduced to the person I'm sitting next to. She gives me the lay of the land. She tells me about how she started implementing some of the things that I did, or some of the things that I mentioned in my interview, and she was asking me my opinion if this is what I meant, and she had done a few things differently than what I explained, which whatever. She's the boss. She could, if she wants to do it like that, she could do it like that. I gave her my opinion. She's like, okay, well we'll see how it plays out, and then she tells me that. She gives me the rundown of who works where and the people that I directly work with. That's fine. And then she goes, okay, so it's about 9:40. You're starting about now, so you're going to have to work till 5:40. I'm like, well, what? I thought my workday started at 9. She goes, yeah, but you're only getting to your desk at 9:40. I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, I was at work at 9. Don't give me this stuff on my first day about having to stay to 5:40. So right there, I was like, okay, and I'm like, I guess I'll stay later, but I'm not too thrilled about that. I'm not thrilled about being watched to the minute that I leave. So the day continues, and then finally somebody comes by and starts cleaning up their beer bottles. And then I start learning more about like the ins and outs of what's expected of the channel. So that's where she tells me about the aspect where you need to delete any negative comments, which to me again raised a red flag because that's not transparent. You have to either, if there's a negative comment, you have to address it if it's misinformation, or if it's an actual feedback, you have to at least respond to it, take it into consideration. And if it's something that's just like a design, let's say somebody like wasn't okay with the amount of speed that was taken to unlock a certain thing in the game. We should just respond to that honestly about how it's a design choice, and this is the reason why. And I'm all about transparency in my social media communications. It's one of the things that I really preach upon in all the jobs that I've worked in. And to have this counter right in the face seemed extremely shady. I was uncomfortable, and I told my boss, I'm like, this is not a good way of addressing it. And if we get caught like just deleting negative comments, it's gonna come back and bite us in the butt later on. She's like, nope, didn't want to hear anything of it, and she shut it down right away. She's like, that's the way it's gonna be, and there's nothing about it. At this point, I'm like, this is kind of my life now, so I gotta roll with it and see how I feel. And then I noticed on our Facebook wall there was a comment about how somebody accidentally spent $5,000 on their credit card because of some sort of issue. That I don't remember what it was, but the amount was like around $5,000, and it was like and all in like microtransactions. So I go to my boss. I'm like, okay, do we have an FAQ or do we have some talking points that we can address the situation? She goes, no, just delete the comment. She goes, we want people to spend that much money on our game. I'm like, really? Like, clearly it was a mistake. Is there not something that we can at least tell them? Even if we can't refund them, can we at least tell them? She goes, nope, delete it. She goes, I don't want to see any negative comments on this Facebook page. And I was like, whoa. I'm like, that's not good, because as soon as we delete, this is somebody asking us for help. As soon as we delete this comment, if they ask us again, they're gonna say, where did my comment go? It's gonna just spiral everything out of control. It's not kosher. I delete the comment against my will. Like, I was really, she forced my hand, deleted the comment. I felt like crap afterwards. I'm like, geez, like, that's pretty shitty to have somebody spend that much money, and then clearly it's a mistake. Like, there could be like some sort of refund process or anything, but to say no, that's it, just delete it, to me was so bad. One of the things I can't get over, and I immediately, upon leaving this position, deleted all the apps. I didn't get any resolution on that last conversation. Normally, work at social media, you should have some talking points about what are the frequently asked questions, what are the frequent topics, how to respond, who to contact if we need more information internally. So she goes, oh well, we don't have any of that. I'm like, okay, so I guess this is something that I should build then. Like, we as a social media team should have it. She goes, no, we're not interested in that. She goes, when you get the questions, if they're too hard, just delete them. I'm like, we can't just delete questions. That's not what we do. And she goes, okay, well, if you need to go talk to somebody, like you would go find them. I'm like, okay, well, who are the main points of contact? She goes, you'll figure that out. I'm like, I'm not getting any type of help here from my boss, and I don't call her a manager. She's a boss at this point, and there's a distinct difference between a manager and a boss. Anyways, make a long story short, I then find out near the end of the day that at the end of the week she's leaving for a month on vacation. She's leaving for a month. So I go to her. I'm like, well, who do I report to in the interim? She goes, nobody really. You just you figure it out. Really? After 1 week, I have to figure it out? And then, okay, well, what if there's an issue? She goes, I don't know, you talk to maybe this person, they can direct you. And she literally just went like this and like pointed at somebody. I was like, where am I right now? At this point, I realized that it's gonna be an uphill battle with this person, because she clearly doesn't know social media, or she's been trained in a way that is completely counterintuitive on how to run social media accounts. And furthermore, I find that the company is practicing in shitty, might not be illegal, but shitty tactics to extract money from people. And her stance, I don't know if it was reflective of the company or not, but it was certainly it was something that I was so appalled by. And I left work pissed off, because I'm like, this is my first day here, and I felt like it was utter garbage. Without a doubt, probably one of the worst environments that I worked in relation to a manager, an employee relation. And I got up the next morning, and I'm like, I've got to go to work. And it hit me right then and there. I'm like, this is only my second day on the job, and I already hate it. Called HR. I'm like, I'm not coming in today, and I'm not coming in ever again. The lady on the other line, on the other side of the line, was like, what? Why? And I tell her straight up, this. And she's like, oh, okay, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I understand. and that was the end of it. I never heard anything from my would be boss or HR again. Thankfully, what I had done is because I was working at the call center, I was able to just take extended time off without quitting yet. So I went back to my job. I was actually going to quit, and then one of my friends said, I'll do this instead because they're offering at work, they're offering extended leave of absences for people. So I ended up getting like 2-3 weeks off. So that was cool. That was cool, but that experience in gaming really it was so unfortunate because I was so excited to work in gaming. I would totally embrace the opportunity to work in a gaming environment again. I understand that the beer on Fridays, the attires and all that are normal for these types of companies. It wasn't what I expected, but I later found out that that's the norm, and I wouldn't mind being in that environment. I just think that all of the things that mesh together is the reason why I quit after just one day. Whew. It was certainly an adventure. It was a story that I've been wanting to tell you guys for a bit. I hope that it was somewhat entertaining, or at least prepared you mentally for jumping into either a startup or a web-based company, or maybe a company that develops apps. Keep your eyes open, but be happy with where you're working and that you have a job. It's having a job isn't something you should take for granted. Anyways, that's my spiel. I would love to know if you had any bad employee boss situations or any situations going into a new job that you just hated. Doesn't have to be gaming related. Let me know either way in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. In the meantime, you can check out some of my other videos right over here, and if you'd like to subscribe, it really helps the channel out, but it also lets you know when we upload new content or go live during our live streams. I'd like to thank you for making me a part of your day, and until next time, good gaming.